You're watching Pedestal by Sargeant Hagan. Chapter 13. Edwin waited, seated on a bench in the shadows. He had convinced Adriana to meet him one last time in Kensington Gardens, in their spot, their special place under the lime trees. He had hoped for a few more days with her, a few more days to figure it all out, but their time was cut short. By what? Or who? He brushed that thought out of his mind. He wasn't sure what he was going to say. A monologue about friendship leading to something more? No, she doesn't want something more. Not right now. He waited there, restless. Will she come? It's getting late. He consulted his phone. Although it was already 9 o'clock, London's summer sun was only just beginning to head towards twilight. Most of the park's visitors had long since gone home to their dinners or back to their hotel rooms. He was alone. He heard a footstep at the far end of the canopied walk, and he looked up suddenly, eagerly. For a brief moment, he felt a flicker of fear, as if it arrived with the scent of roses on the summer breeze and just as suddenly faded away. She stepped into the arbor. The fading sunlight framed her figure as she walked toward him. She's so lovely. He stood up. All fear was gone. Before he realized what he was doing, he had moved toward her, meeting her in the middle of the walkway. Taking her in his arms, he kissed her, not waiting for permission, not caring what she thought or felt. He needed her, needed this, wanted her for his own, and she did not pull away. "Adriana," he whispered. "Edwin, what are we doing?" she asked. "I couldn't let you go without seeing you one last time, without Bethany." She laughed softly. "Bethany would not approve of this," she said without releasing her embrace. "You and I are supposed to be friends. You promised." "I am your friend, Adriana." He pressed his forehead against hers. She sighed. "Do you kiss all your friends?" "Yes," he teased. "Yes, I do." He kissed her again. She clung to him, clutching his curls in her hand. When she pulled back, she tenderly touched his cheek with her fingers. "Just friends," she says. I don't believe her. They sat down on the bench, silent, peaceful. The sun had begun to plunge behind the trees, causing the leaves to glimmer green and gold. She nestled her head against him, and he rested his chin on her dark head. They twined their fingers together as if that alone would keep them from parting. "We fit together perfectly. Why should we be separated?" "Don't go," he said into her hair. "You know I can't stay," she replied, gently rubbing her thumb against the hand that held hers. "Sometimes we have to do difficult things we don't want to do," she said quietly. "We sacrifice for the common good." Edwin's brow furrowed, wondering if the speech was intended to convince him or herself. "But isn't there some way?" he began. "Shh, don't talk. I want to remember us like this, uncomplicated." He sighed and breathed in the scent that was her, vanilla and cinnamon and roses. He wasn't sure how long they sat there together, unified, but suddenly she roused herself. "I have to go," she said regretfully. He was surprised to see how dark it had become. A sliver of moon spied on them through the gaps in the canopy. She sighed, studying his face, as if trying to memorize it. "We should never have met," she said quietly. "Don't say that," he said. "You're the best thing that's ever happened to me." "Don't say that," she said, shaking her head. They both stood looking at each other. She took both his hands in hers. There were tears in her eyes as she looked up at him. "Goodbye, Edwin Sterling." So final. He tried to say the words, but they stuck in his throat. She turned to go. As she let go of his hands, he held one tightly, pulling her back to him. Once again, she did not resist, but returned his kiss passionately. "I have to go," she said again, pulling away. This time she was successful. "Goodbye," he said as she became one with the shadows. "For now."